Member for Nipissing.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Madam Speaker. I, too, am pleased to rise to speak to Bill 161, Nick's Law, opioid abuse awareness. This is an act to allocate 10% of the bulk media buy program towards marketing campaigns to prevent opioid and fentanyl abuse. Now, this is put forward by the very passionate member from Nepean Carleton, and I, too, want to lend my voice to say thank you for doing what you're doing, for garnering the teamwork that you've garnered in this. This is just a particularly touching topic in the middle of such a crisis. As I stated a week or so ago in the recent debate on Bill 126, we are indeed in the midst of an opioid crisis. Between 2006 and 2015, fentanyl overdose deaths in Ontario soared by 548%. Last month, we got word that opioid-related deaths rose 19% in 2016 in Ontario. You may recall, Speaker, that after 15 fentanyl deaths in my hometown of North Bay, the leaders there came together with their drug strategy committee and developed a patch-for-patch program. You'll see why I'm talking about this in a moment. So the patch-for-patch is a protocol, Speaker, that basically states that before you can get a new fentanyl patch for those that need it by prescription, you return the used patch undamaged. And it was a very successful program that this legislature adopted province-wide. And since that time, in my hometown, the fentanyl-related deaths, remember we had 15, they're now 0. It is just stopped in its tracks due primarily at the time to the patch-for-patch program. So I relate this because it is my hope and our hope that this same kind of nonpartisan lens is used to move this bill forward. Now, certainly today it sounds exactly like that is what's happening. I think we're all so grateful to see that. But we do want to see this go to a committee, come up to the committee and have hearings. We don't just want to see it fall by the wayside after one wonderful day today. We saw Bill 126 recently, and this is from the member from Kitchener-Conestoga. This was his illegal pill press act. Again, as the minister said, one more tool in the toolbox to fight this scourge. And that received nonpartisan support, and hopefully that bill will also go to committee. But this is what we're saying. This is what we're hearing. There are all pieces that are part of this big puzzle to try to solve this. And I think anything that we can do in this legislature to save lives, well, that ought to be something we do. And I see the member from Nepean Carleton doing that today. The Ontario PC caucus has also urged the government to do more in the prevention of the opioid crisis. And we're starting to hear things that I think we're all pleased to hear, the task force that the minister announced. These are all critical pieces. Again, not one is going to solve it all, but cumulatively, these pieces will come together. So we encourage the government through this bill to start advertising for public safety from public money. I think that's what the member for Nepean Carleton is really asking for here, Speaker. Opioid overdoses are preventable. With more awareness and education, youth will have a better understanding just how very lethal these opioids like fentanyl, and as you heard from the member from Nepean Carleton, carfentanil, just how very deadly these are. Nick's Law proposes allocating 10% of the government's $57 million advertising budget into the fight against fentanyl and other dangerous opioids. It would establish campaigns to address the prevention of opioid abuse, talk about the early warning signs of addiction and the dangers associated. It would bring greater public awareness to dangers associated with the drugs that are contaminated with fentanyl, much like the patch-for-patch return policy. So, Speaker, as in the past, I want to read a letter from Sherry Albert of New Liskeard to remind members in this House of what this is really all about. Now, sadly, she wrote to me, in 2011, I lost my 19-year-old son to this tragic abuse of medication. He was a gentle young man with many plans who was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and as many others, did not know the dangers of prescription medication. The police determined that fentanyl was sold to his friend for $100. Since May, I've heard of at least 4 more senseless fentanyl-related deaths in our very small community. I, too, am afraid for our youth. My life has been forever changed and my heart eternally broken by the loss caused by this serious problem. It's a reminder there are families just like Sherry's all across the province who are hurting. Their anguish is raw, human, and real. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Further debate.